Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the channel. Now, today I'm kind of doing a semi kind of review slash impressions on the game. Now this is City Skylines, and if you haven't heard of it, it's pretty much like the kind of sim city that should have come from the last one, which they kind of fucked up. Yeah, so it's a city building game, a lot like SimCity, but I've found it's got a lot less of the faff. Because if I had to compare this to any of them, I'd probably compare it to 4. Although it's got some aspects which are similar to the new one as well. But at the same time, it doesn't have any of the annoying kind of like first-person missions and stuff like that. Well, not first-person, but the little car driving shit from 4. So yeah, I've built a fairly big city. I mean, you can see kind of this little island here, which has got a lot of stuff on it. And then if you... well, I don't know why I went this way, but if you follow this main road, the frame rate does get a bit choppy in OBS, so that's not the game so much as it is the actual recording method, I suppose. So yeah, you can see here the city is freaking huge, and I've got 121,000 people at the moment. It's currently falling because I believe I just demolished a load of like houses down here. So that's kind of why that's going, but yeah, it's a big. But no, it's got some really cool features in it, and I just kind of wanted to show off some of the little features of it all. So pretty much, you start off in one grid square. Now, grid squares come like around this size here, so you can see down here. I've pretty much bought all the others out. Now, normally you can only buy so many of them, but there is a couple of mods out there that allow you to like purchase pretty much the whole map, which I'll probably just do now anyway, just to show. See, so it gets more expensive the more you buy, but each one would have different things like resources or links to the outside world and stuff like that. And there's a lot of stuff, well, not too much stuff, but there's a lot of stuff that you kind of have to think about in these maps. Now, this map itself, I custom made, so there is a map editor, there is a lot of mod tools and stuff like that, which is very cool when you're trying to make these maps. Admittedly, it doesn't look too natural. I mean, mountains look a bit meh, kind of. They're not too bad, but... and then you have like the odd issue where you got trees underwater because someone was too lazy to remove them all. Because the only way you can really remove trees is one at a time, so I just couldn't be arsed personally. So yeah, it's not a bad map, but you kind of have to it's going all over the place here. You kind of have to pay a bit of attention when you're placing things, otherwise you can take a long while to clear them up again. Now, in terms of like features themselves, the roads are very kind of fleshed out, but also quite simplified as well. Like, there is traffic issues which you can fix by... usually traffic of this kind would be like caused by traffic coming from both directions and then causing a big pile-up, which is pretty much what's happening here. So I don't know if there's really any way I could fix that other than maybe putting another entrance in over here just so it could kind of take a bit of pressure off this side. So that might be something to do later on for me. But in terms of the city itself, you generally have like three main kinds of roads. You got the kind of interstate or the highways, which is well, motorways if you're in England, but we're technically kind of an America. I can't talk now. So yeah, you got the main roads here, which is the like, how many lanes is it? It's a 3 lane? Yeah, it's 3 lane. It's 3 lane motorway kind of thing going past there. And then you've got the kind of like main roads through the city, and then you've got the small roads which you have all the housing on. I tend to find this method works really well, as if I just click on the traffic, which is this one here, you can see for the most part the city is pretty good. There are a few areas where I kind of suck. I mean, this isn't too bad up here, there's not too much traffic, but it's just kind of very congested, I guess you would say. But for the most part, it's not too bad. Once you get to a city of this size, you tend to find you have to destroy a lot of buildings before you can actually kind of get going again, I guess. Get going in. Well, you start out with a small city and you kind of work out. Some of the issues I have with this game is that a lot of this stuff is kind of like locked until you get slightly higher levels. Like, you'll start off with the basic roads, and then you'll gain access to, say, the one-way ones, or the highway roads, or the off-ramps. Which is okay in most cases, but in some cases where you start in a grid when you've got a highway going through it already and you need to create another like exit just for planning in the future, it can be a pain because you end up having to just like remove half your city just to try and get that one ramp back in. Admittedly, it does stay unlocked, so it's not such a big issue because you can just do that and then re-add all the stuff back in again and just wait for the city to grow, but at the same time it's kind of hampering it a bit. Disasters wise, I mean, you had the natural disasters in SimCity, but in this one it tends to be more disasters with planning. Like, for instance, I mean, fire, it doesn't usually spread beyond the building, so it's not such a big city issue. Just get out that mode there. But if you don't have, like, fire engines, like, for instance, if I go to the fire tab, no, that's police one, fire one. I mean, you can see the accessibility of all the places around here. Like, this area here is really shit fire coverage, so I'd technically want to put a fire engine somewhere around here. And that should make it, yeah, there you go. So you can see how covered they are now in this area, which is good. But you tend to find that that can cause issues, especially in industrial areas, because they seem to always be burning somewhere or other. Although, for the most part, I think I'm pretty good at it. Oh, here's a fire over here. Now, the main issues, though, come with placing onto water. I mean, you can see this small bit of polluted water here, which is kind of stuck here because my initial square is here, and you need a water outlet in your initial square, otherwise you just get bunged up with sewage and everyone dies of bloody poisoning. Yeah. So pretty much what I've set up now is I've got all my water coming in here. Salt water. I don't know how good that is for people, but apparently it's drinkable in this game. And then I've pretty much got all of my dirty water going out here through these sewage treatment plants. Now these are the more advanced one. Normally you'd start off with a drain pump which just pumps raw sewage out, which is what makes that terrible sewage like that. But this, although you can see it is polluted, is not as bad. But yeah. So if I had a water pump in this kind of area here, it's very likely that people start to get sick. Having trouble with my words, but yeah. But other than that, I mean, it's common sense kind of thing, really. Admittedly, some things are a bit fiddly in the game, like placing down junctions. I'll find my old... Where's my airport one? Here it is. That's not my airport one. Oh, this is my airport. No, wait. Oh, this is my airport. I recognise it now. So yeah, pretty much because this one's built on quite a big slope, as you can see here, I've had to kind of improvise a way of doing all the roads on this so that they fit in. And this is the only way I've found of getting it all to work. So, yeah, you can see the roads are a bit chaotic. As I said, this is just because it's on the hill. That's more or less the only reason you get all of this stuff here. So that's kind of something that they could probably fix, but I'd imagine someone's probably got a mod for it as well, because there is a large modding community for this already. Admittedly, it's usually the same guy trying to get off every single building, but yeah. Other things in the game, you kind of got an advancement thing through the monuments, which they tend to be like statues and stuff like that. I mean, you can kind of see this one. You need to put them on roads, which is why they're not being placed, but yeah. I mean, these tend to be, they are unlocked for certain achievements. Some of these are just kind of stupid, like this one, which is get your average citizen health under 20%, which you could probably do early game, but come late game, putting your citizens under that level of health is just kind of dumb. The cemetery one I'm working on, that's not too hard, it just takes time. There are a few other ones, all tax rates at most 4%. This one's going to be a hard one to do, mainly because, well, actually it shouldn't be too hard. I mean, I can just lower it to 4% and then place it and then put it back up again. But it means you do lose some money if you keep it at that, because you can't survive at 4%. Courthouse, crime rate over 50%. I'm kind of thinking the only way you could kind of do this is just like delete all your police stations and then put them all back in again. Although admittedly that would harm your town again. That's just office space. Now pretty much these will work up to the highest tier, which is stuff like, I don't know, because they don't show the targets anymore. But once you get, like, I think it's one of each tier, you can generally work your way up to getting one of the final kind of, like, what is it classed as? Monuments. So you get Hadron Collider, Medical Center, Eden Project, Space Elevator, and the Fusion Power Plant. Now each of these are going to add different things. I think the Fusion Power Plant, for instance, gives a lot of power. But for instance, the Space Elevator, which is this thing over here, which I've managed to get, is just pretty much a constant influx of tourists, which provide a lot of like business for shops and stuff like that. And I've got them going in my subway, which is quite extensive. I mean, you can kind of see my transport network going on over here. The train is completely useless. No one uses the train line. I don't think I've had one cargo train go on this, but I'm not really surprised. I just kind of needed them for the building, so it's not really a big issue. This train, it usually serves around 6 people a week. This time, no people. So yes, not too useful in this circumstance, but in the main game, they are generally a lot busier. I think I have most of my stuff going out the ports, which is pretty much consistently packed, as you can see from here. Yeah, so this is just cargo coming in, and then all the vehicles kind of spawn, come out, and then you've got a constant stream going in as well. So that's another aspect. Power plants, it tends to be another one of those cases where natural stuff is kind of overpowered. I don't know if this is like indicative of real life and no one's just listening to it, but I find in these games, especially in this one in SimCity, then you can survive off wind turbines and solar plants, which, although it's great in concept, at night you'd kind of struggle, especially with solar, but it pumps out a lot of electricity. But yeah, as I said before, I have got a nuclear plant over here which is operating normally. I'd imagine that could blow up as well. I'm not certain on it, but that's why I got this little fire engine down here, because I've had it before where my wonders have burnt down. So yeah. What else is in the game? I mean, you've got like noise pollution itself, usually around industrial areas like this cesspit over here. Transport, you can see the kind of like mass, and you got things like this. It also adds policies as well, so you can set up regions, which is pretty good. I haven't done it for a lot of areas yet, but it means in areas like this you can set up policies for it, like free public transport, recreational use, and stuff like this. It changes certain aspects of that region. You can also like ban heavy traffic as well, which is a really handy one if you're trying to keep your city kind of like traffic free. Yeah. So I tend to find with this game, it's quite slow at the beginning, but once you kind of get going, it's generally quite fun to just like doodle along with the city. I guess that's a word. So yeah, it's pretty fun in that respect. Is there anything else I can really say about this thing? I mean, you can kind of see at this point, I don't have to worry about money at all. It's more or less just getting the city how I want it at this point. There's no real challenge as such. It's just trying to get those goals to get the monuments, which I suppose is the hardest thing, because a lot of them I'd reckon I'm probably not going to be able to get. Some of them with time, but a lot, yeah, probably not. Yeah, so it pretty much comes into a case of just customizing the city to get it how you want it to look, and to get it running perfectly. So if that kind of interests you in a game, to just try and be as anal or as creative as possible with a city, then you could probably have a fair amount of fun with this game. I mean, I've already played, I don't know how much exactly, maybe Steam will tell me here. No. I'm sure it could probably tell me out of the game, but I've played a lot of this game, enough to know if I like it or not, and I have to say it is a very fun game. I spent a lot of time as a child playing SimCities 4 and SimCities 2000, which is a very old one. And I have to say this one is way ahead of all of them. And in terms of stability, considering with the modern games that have been out and just how poorly in general they run, this game is just perfect for it. I have had, as far as I can remember, absolutely no issues with it, and I've had several games worth of cities and stuff like that. So I would strongly recommend this to anyone interested in city building, or even in just kind of like SimCity, that kind of stuff, because in addition to it being absolutely beautiful, I mean, just look, you can just spend hours going through the streets. There is also a lot of modded kind of stuff. Admittedly, this camera's a bit shit at the moment because I keep on going through the buildings. But in terms of complexity and just how high fidelity the buildings are, how everything works, I mean, you can click on a car and find out where he's going. Albert Jones, he's going to a convenience store. He's from this house over here. live in a bit of a crap hole, mate. Yeah. But yeah, you kind of get the idea. It's very well done. I don't think there's really anything else to say on it. The only real issue you tend to get with these cities at this point is traffic, and trying to figure out how that all works is kind of what keeps a lot of the game going on. But it tends to be a case of road management. If you keep the kind of like 3 levels of roads and you are very careful with junctions like this, generally a junction like this would be a nightmare for traffic because of the kind of double entry. But because I think I've got this one down here with most of the businesses on, it kind of like alleviates some of the strain on that one. But as long as you keep to like 1 lane ones, then it's pretty much perfect for it. So there are a few guides and stuff like that. It's always the same case with games like this, but it is a really creative game, and in terms of city building, I'd say it's probably one of the best out there. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, that's pretty much all I can say on it, and I would recommend it, which is usually a good thing. Usually. But, yeah. So anyway, if you liked the video or found it helpful in any way, didn't just like, comment, and all that kind of crap, share it, I don't care. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So Kapplah signing out. Have a good day, night, wherever you are. Whatever. Ciao! It just occurred to me, I was doing my washing the other day and I was wondering where my sock was. Turns out, pop filter. Yeah.